So we started, yeah. In next lessons, guys, if I will forget about recording, you can just say, yeah, please, teacher, don't forget about recording, because. So let's start, guys. Let's start from this topic. Do you know how just simple website works, web application works? A website, yeah, just simple website, how it works. When you go to some Google, somewhere, not Google maybe. Okay, let's go to Google. Even this is a request, guys. When you type google dot something, yeah, google.ru, for example, and press enter, this is also a request. You know how the requests and responses work in general? Yeah, I will think that you don't know. Maybe some guys of you know, yeah, studied some, watched some lessons from online. But when I press somewhere, guys, in the browser, when I press somewhere, yeah, if I write something like news, some news, for example, I press somewhere. When I press it, there goes some request from my computer, from my browser. Some request goes where? To some Tengri News web server, yeah. We have some Tengri News office somewhere in Almaty, maybe in Astana. So from my browser, they have a server. They have web server, where they store all news, yeah, all information, all pictures, everything that you see, they store somewhere. And I do some requests from my browser, yeah, by the internet, and this request goes to where? To their server, to Tengri News server, yeah. Let's assume that they have some server, they have big servers, really, because they have so much information, yeah. All news from the past, they store. So one request goes to their servers, yeah. There they have web server. I will explain you what is web server now. There they have some web server. One request goes to web server. They take this request, yeah, read what they want. In the request there is information, what information they want, like what I want to see from this web server, what I want to take, yeah, as an answer. Is it clear, guys? Some guys' face is quite strange. What's happening? Is it clear, guys? So let me draw, okay? If it's yeah, if some question, oh, we have only bad news here. Is it normal news? Is there some okay news, like? Yeah, this is good news, I think. You see some food here. So when I press it, when I press one link, there we have a link. When I press it, what happens? I have a browser here, guys. This is my laptop, yeah. Let's say that this is my laptop, and somewhere we have a server. We have a server of Tengri News, okay? It's somewhere in their office, okay? Tengri News office. There they have. This is just a device, web server, one big computer, let's say, web server. But inside they have a software called web server. They have some software. Let's say that this is just a web server, okay? Software, just a program, okay? Web server. Also they have what? They have database. You will learn about database in this semester also, yeah? You have database lesson, yeah? Also this semester, yeah. So you will learn there. They have a database. In their database here they store all news, I mean. All news they store here, yeah? So when I press to some news, I make a request. From my laptop, by the internet, I make some request. Okay, to their server. This request comes to web server. Okay. Web server. Why we need web server? What is the job of web server? How do you think?
Connect with information and user.
Not connect maybe. What is the main job of web server? Why we need this application called web server?
Web server try to new one user usable. No.
Just try to answer by your own words, guys. There is the one main thing why we need web servers. This is like their main job. You know this thing, when we do some requests and the server gives me some response, yeah, back, yeah, he gives me some HTML response back, yeah, so I can see. These requests and responses are done by some protocol. It's called HTTP protocol, okay? We will not be learning what is HTTP protocol, how it works. Just we have some protocol, some rule how we can communicate with server. Okay? You will learn about protocol quite deeper in the next weeks. We have a get method, post method, how the answer is done. Answers have some codes like, you know, 404, 404. It means yeah, you are asking for a page that is not, that is absent in our web server, like something like this. Yeah. So this is everything about HTTP protocol. We do some request by the protocol, and server gives us answer by HTTP protocol. Okay. And the job of this web server is to understand this HTTP protocol, to understand what is request, and to be able to give some answers. So web server handles requests handles on a button. Yeah? HTTP, the web server, the main job of this web server is to handle requests. He knows what is HTTP request. Okay, when a request comes, he knows what is about, what he wants, what the user wants, what I have to answer him, etc. So he takes this HTML page and answers with the HTTP protocol. So the main job is to handle requests and give answers, give responses. Yeah, the main job of web server. Is it clear, guys? If not, ask questions, because we have to understand, close it, and go to next. Do you understand? Really? So main job is to know how to work with requests and responses. That's the job of web server. Okay? Okay? But web server just takes a request, but he doesn't do some logic, you know? He doesn't do logic like authenticate, register user, no. Web server is only to take requests and give responses. Who does the logic? Authenticate user, check the login, check the password, I don't know. Get the news by category, any logic. Who does the logic? Any programming, any code, any backend side code, okay? So we will be writing this code on PHP. You can write on PHP, you can write on Java, Python. Also in JavaScript you can write it, because we have also JavaScript nowadays can be used on backend side. Backend, when we say backend, we mean this side. This is backend. Backend programming, it means we will write some code for this side. So we will write code and put it here in the server, okay? Frontend, you know, it's code for this side, okay? But you will see about frontend in the next semester. Yeah? You will have React. Yeah, you will have React. Okay, so any questions now? We'll be going slowly, so ask questions. You have to just know the logic, how it works, how the web application works. Yeah? So each time when you press to some link, you do some request. Web server handles this request. Then this web server, by the request, by the information inside the request, it sees who have to handle which program, which file, which PHP file have to handle this request, and web server gives this request to some PHP file. So we'll be having some PHP files here, guys. Let me. Is it okay, guys? Yeah. No problems? Any problems? Ask. Always ask, guys. If you don't ask, it means that you don't want to know anything. Yeah? So ask something. So we will be having some PHP files in this server, okay? Let's say that we wrote some code, authentication, registration, something, yeah, some giving news, yeah, news by category, etc. So for authentication, you can write code like aus.php, let's say. Your files will be with the extension PHP. So let's assume we write aus.php for authentication, some reg PHP for registration, etc. Some news PHP for giving some news, etc. etc. Some files. So when you have when the web server takes a request, inside the request we have information which PHP file have to handle this request. Okay. So then web server passes this request to some file. For example, it passes to out.php. Yeah. Out.php does what? He takes this login, account login and password, let's say. Yeah? When you do some request, you give some login and password here, okay? When you are authorizing password. Let's say that you pass login and password. Okay? So you pass this thing as a request, yeah? Inside the request, you pass login and password. This web server gave it here to our PHP. Our PHP will take your login and password, let's say. Okay. Let's say that you pass Azike and password is 1, 2, some password. Okay. You pass some information from the browser. Yeah. You enter. Then what our PHP does? He searches from the database. Do we have a user with such a login and password? If we have, he returns you some HTML with welcome page. Some welcome information like welcome Azike, this is your profile, this is your, I don't know, some news for you. Okay, if you're authenticated normally. If not, he can give you some HTML with information like, sorry, you're not authenticated, please try again, etc. Okay. So you understand how it generally works? Yeah? We have some web server, it passes a request to some PHP. In PHP we have some logic. It can use PHP can take some data from database to do something. Yeah? For example, this news PHP can do what? It takes like last 10 news, for example, from the database and gives you back as an answer. Yeah? He's not giving you just simple just news like draw news. No, he will take this news, put inside HTML some HTML template and give you back HTML with some news. Okay, like together. For this course, I mean, for this course. But when we will study Laravel, there we will have only we will be working only with JSON. But today not in this semester. So questions here, guys. This is main thing that you have to know. How website and application works. So we need web server, PHP files also stored in backend. Можете открыть, наверное, да? Можете открыть? Я тоже открою. И жарко. Мне кажется, вы все мозги включили и прям без жара. Сильно не думайте. Все легко. Все нормально здесь, да? What I was talking about. So we need web server. Yeah? This is not just like C++ or Java when you install some compiler, run it, oh, it works. No, we need web server. We need web server so we can handle requests, yeah, give some responses. So your code, PHP code can work, you have to install here some compiler. But for PHP we don't say compiler, we say interpreter. I will say the difference between interpreter and compiler, okay? Quite the same thing, compiler, interpreter. PHP uses interpreter. It's not compile language, it's interpreted language. As Python, also interpreted. JavaScript, also interpreted. C++, compiled. What? Java is half compiled, half interpreted. Okay? Yeah? So we need web server, some interpreter for PHP, because without interpreter, this PHP code cannot be converted to machine code and it will not like run. Okay? Also, in the future, in the week 9 and 10, we will need what? Database. But by that time, you will know what is database because you have lesson. We will add databases in the week 10, 9, yeah? 9, 10th week. By that time, you will know how database work, how to select, insert data, delete data from database, okay? We will cover only this thing, how PHP works with database together. How inside the PHP, query some data from MySQL, okay? Query, insert, put, delete, update, etc. Any
so
questions? Huh?
Comment word.
What?
Command. Gives a command to the web server and gives us information about from the database and gives us.
Yeah, it depends on request. Some requests only to get some information. Okay, we will talk about this is just get requests. We'll just to take some information from web server. Some requests to put some information to database. It's registration, for example. When you do registration, you take your login, password, I don't know, some gender, some information, and you are saving your new data to database. So you are new user. Yeah, saving to database something new, some new information about the user. Yeah? Some new user, I mean. Adding some news when some I don't know, Tengri news administrator takes and adds some news, yeah, news. I mean, today we have some news. Narhos did some celebration of something, and he wrote some post and saved it. This is also saving information. Yeah, this is another request. Also, we have request to update something. I want to update my login. I just go to my profile. This is update request. I want to update. And also we have delete. Yeah, when you want to delete something, some news, some categories. Okay. Other questions? Emmanuel, is it clear? Questions? What? IDE? When we start just PHP, I think it's okay to work with Sublime or VS Code, but if we need, we can install PHP Storm after. PHP Storm we need to install when our project is big enough. But in the beginning, we'll just use the syntax. We'll learn the syntax only, so it's okay if you use VS Code for now, or Sublime. What you want? When somebody will teach you Laravel on the third year, there you will be using PHP Storm or WebStorm. I think PHP Storm and WebStorm, they both you can write PHP code there. Laravel. Okay. Also, let me show you some Laravel project. Okay, so you will understand. It's not here, yeah, it's here. Oh, okay. I will show you then. Not today, maybe. It's here because in my laptop. Okay, I'll show you after later. Okay. In Laravel, guys, you will not be doing mostly. You will not use PHP to do websites. Okay, you will use some framework like Laravel mostly. But there in frameworks. Who's talking? I forgot his name. Hi. Don't talk, please. In Laravel, guys, everything is done with the classes and objects. With the classes, inheritance, abstraction, polymorphism, etc. There is no just some simple function, no. Okay? Everything is done using object-oriented programming in Laravel. So we will start with just procedural. We'll start with just simple functions, etc., etc. But in the second half of this semester, we'll try to jump to object-oriented PHP language. Okay? To learn object-oriented side of PHP. Why? Because you need to be ready to learn the Laravel. Okay? Okay. This is the same as a Spring Boot. In Java, we have a framework, Spring Boot. Spring, it's called Spring Boot. Yeah? There is also everything done with the class, but Java is always with classes is done. But PHP we can do with some website with classes or just with functions. Okay, we'll start doing something with functions now. Then we will try to switch to classes. Okay, to objects. Any questions? Any questions? Don't be shy. Ask, guys. Ask. Yeah.
So on the left,
I have an answer. Yeah. I have answer.
So on the left it's like web server, right?
Yeah. This is web server. This is just application. This is just a server as a device. Yeah. As a device. Железо.
But this circle is
Web server. This is application. Program. Software.
and on the down is
We have our files, PHP files.
more
This is database.
database. Okay.
Any.
So on the right it's like computer software.
This is our browser. I mean, this is client. This is server side. This is client side. This is my laptop. I'm doing some requests.
Why you divide database and web server? Like it's like database is just device and web server is what inside of this device.
Database is not device. Database is also software. Why database is device?
Like web server is what's the difference database and web server?
Database is only application to store the data. This is application. This is application. This is application, and you can put them all in one device. If you want, nowadays, guys, people take this database and put to another server. You can also do. You can have another server only to store the data. Server and database, it's different things. Database is just application to store the data. Server, if you're talking about the device, physical device, it's a device, so you can install to another server. So you can do like what, guys? It's up to you. Let me do some print screen, yeah, here. Oh no, you can see from the video, yeah. So I can just remove it. Nowadays, guys, you can do like this. You can have one device with the web server, and all requests will come here, okay? So you can have your PHP files here, some out PHP, some PHP files, and you can have another web server, another device, just for your database. You can install your database in MySQL, PostgreSQL to another device, but you have to connect them so they can see each other with IP addresses. Because when one request come, and when your PHP file needs to access to database, by the IP address you have to take some data here, okay, and give some response back. Yeah. Database is just an application. You can put this database here. You can put it somewhere else. If there's so many requests, guys, you can put it in another server. So another processor, yeah, will work only for database. So it will be more quick. Okay. Yeah. Now I understand. Yeah. Database is not a physical thing. Database is software.
What database do you use?
We will use MySQL, but in your lessons, I think you'll use Postgre. Yeah? No? SQL is general thing. SQL is general thing. MySQL is just one application. PostgreSQL is another, but they all use SQL language. SQLite is very simple thing. Mostly when you use some. In mobile phones, you just install. You can install SQLite, like small SQL, small database. Mongo is good, but we will not be using Mongo. You will have another lessons like how it's called. In the third grade, you will have how it's called, stack, Mern stack, yeah, or what stack? You have a stack, one course, it's called Mern stack, like Mongo, Express, React, Node.js, like there you will use. But here we have to use just relation database. This is relation database. You're talking about Mongo. Mongo is no SQL database. They are different things. You will learn in the next. First, you have to study with relational. Then you will go to Mongo or other NoSQL database. In your courses, you studied NoSQL database, yeah? It's very easy, yeah, because everything is with objects. But you have to learn first relation. Okay, what? One system where you have authentication, registration, taking some information, commentaries, I don't know, likes. This is what I will show. But you can take another project, yeah? You can pass it, yeah, but in the second, yeah, before the session, I mean, yeah, not today, not tomorrow, but before the session, okay, before the session, like 1 week, 14, 13, maybe. So you can just go to your home. You'll be here for 15 weeks, so you can give me on week 13, 14, and just. You are free. You cannot go. You cannot visit the what session? Yeah, our session, if you want. You wanted to submit me today? No. You have to take course. You have to listen. We'll be covering some things also. Any other questions?
What install we should?
Yeah, I'll show you now. I'll show you now. Not for this semester, I think. Maybe in the end, not today. So you can use just VS Code, Sublime, because we'll start from some simple things, PHP simple things. Okay. If you want, you can install and use, please. But I'll be using VS Code. PHP Storm, please, you can. Yeah. Mostly we'll be having just one file with the code for the first half, so we don't need PHP Storm. PHP Storm is for big projects. Huh? Yeah, Django.
So you get
Wait. We're not using framework, yeah? We're using just PHP here. So you can do it with just Python. I know that in Python you can do request responses.
okay, but
If I would be teaching you Laravel, then you could use Django.
okay. So it's just Ajax responses.
Framework. Huh?
Like I should use Ajax responses.
Ajax we also not going to cover. Or maybe we'll cover at the end, yeah.
Okay, just simple responses.
Just simple Python. Do you have a project with simple Python and huh? What? Fast API, it's also framework. Fast API is also framework, yeah? As I know. Not like Django, but also framework.
But our final project will not be so serious. Like,
Okay, but it will be final project. So you have ready Django project, yeah, I think.
yes. Like,
But you have to do in Python. In Python you can also do. You can change everything to Python from Django to Python just. Simple. Вот на чем я вас поймал. Значит, будете PHP, да, слушать? Okay. Other questions? No questions? So guys, if you can see here, we need to install web server, yeah? Just let me continue, yeah, then, guys, yeah? We need to install some web server, we need to install some PHP interpreter. Do you need to know the difference between interpreter and compiler? Okay, let me just explain quickly.
compiler is going to write the code and interpreter that is what shows you a program. Like on
What?
I mean, compiler is just given where you wrote the code. And interpreter is what interpreted your code, like your algorithm.
Yeah, I think you know but yeah. Let me try to explain. So for example, with the compilers, guys, yeah, you know about C++, yeah? C++ is compile language. So let's say you have some C++ code. You have a file, it's called something like main.c++, yeah? CPP, yeah? It is CPP, you remember? CPP? So you have something like IO stream, main, cout, something, okay? Some C++ code you have. And then you have a compiler. You have some application called compiler, yeah, compiler, which takes your C++ code and converts to some machine code. Let's say that this is an exe file. In Windows, exe file, okay? If we're talking about Windows. So this is just a binary numbers, yeah? Machine code. This thing in C++ was converted to machine code, okay? Yeah, this is what compiler does. It takes all your code and compiles in one file, okay? But then you realize that you have some mistake here. You have some mistake in logic in somewhere in the code, yeah? Okay? You corrected this thing, okay? Guys, you are listening? Then you notice that you have some mistake here in the code. You corrected something here, but your exe file is working not correct because it was compiled before you corrected your code, yeah? It was compiled with the wrong program. So what you do, you have to remove everything here. You have to delete this file, yeah? You have to delete this file. And once more you have to compile it. Once more you have to compile it and get the new exe file with the binary code, yeah, guys? Okay? If you want to change something here, you have to remove the whole file and compile again. It's okay if you have only one file, but when you have a big project with thousands of C++ files, yeah, thousands of files, compilation can take some time. This compilation process can take some time. But this is why compiled languages are more preferred, like, because if you compile, yeah, you have some machine code, then you don't need this source code. You can just remove this source code and only work with the exe. You can just run the exe, work here, okay? If everything works fine, you can just remove this and take only the exe file and work with this one, okay? And it's faster than interpreted. It's faster than interpreted. I'll explain why. Now the interpreted languages. Let's take PHP, yeah, or Python, any. Is it clear, guys? Let's take PHP, Python, anything, JavaScript. So we have, let's say PHP, some PHP file here. Some echo is something like cout, guys. Echo something, some PHP code. Then we have interpreter, yeah, interpreter. Something like compiler. Their job is the same. They have to convert the code into machine code. That's all. But they do it in different way. Compiler takes the whole file and makes one exe file. That's all. This is compiler. Interpreter does what? When you are working with the PHP, interpreter takes some block of code, not the whole code. He takes the code that you need to work with. Like, if I call out PHP, yeah, guys, we have so many files. Huh? Let's say we have so many files. How to explain you? Let me. So, guys, let's explain like this. He takes only the code which you want to, which you are using now. Код, который ты вызываешь. He takes only that part of the code which you are using now, yeah, which you are working with, okay, which you need to run. Понимаете, да? Not the whole project, but the only code he needs for now, for this request, for example. Yeah? He takes just the part of code, immediately translates to machine code, and runs it, executes. Okay? Then, if he needs some another code, he takes that part of code from the source code. He takes this part of code, immediately translates to machine code. Okay? And executes this. So he takes block by block. He takes the code he needs, changes to machine code and runs it, executes. Take another part of code, executes, runs. Okay? I mean, converts to machine code, runs. It means what? It means when you're working with PHP, when you run the PHP code, you cannot remove this source file. If you remove this source file, interpreter cannot find your source file to convert. It converts in runtime, you know? It converts in runtime. So when you're working, when you visit some web application, when you do some requests, this request comes to web server sees that you're using aus PHP, you want to use aus PHP file. He takes only this file, converts to machine code and executes. You do another request, he sees you want to use a registered PHP file, he takes this file, converts to machine and executes. So interpreter always needs source code, because he is taking some part of code from the source code and changes, executes. Takes some block of code, changes to machine, executes. Okay? Is it clear, guys? But this is done slower. Yeah? This works slower. Why? Than compiler. Because each time he needs some time to convert to machine code, executes. He takes some block of code, it takes some time to convert to machine code and executes. It's quite slower than compiler languages. Is it clear? But what's good about interpreted languages? If you change something here in the code, if you have some mistake and you change in the source code, in the next request, he takes the new code. He takes the code that you have changed, okay? So you don't need to compile again to another machine code. You just change the code. When the new request comes, interpreter takes your code with the correct code. It takes this code, converts to machine and executes. Okay? You don't have to, if you have some error in the PHP file, you don't do like this. Guys, stop, please stop the web application, stop the web server, yeah? Switch off the web server, I need to correct something. No, you just correct it, in the next request it will be corrected, okay? In the next request, it will give you the correct PHP file, machine code, okay? Is it clear, guys? If your web application will be done in C++, you will say, sorry, this exe file is not working correctly, so I have to compile again. Stop everything, guys. All requests have to be stopped. Yeah? So you take your file, remove it, do some exe file, and again. That's why backend side code is done with interpreted languages mostly, not with compiled languages. Interpreted. Okay. Any questions? So this thing you wanted to say, yeah, about interpreted. Yeah? This is how you understand the interpreted and compiled languages.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I don't understand at all. What is machine code? It's like
The code that machine can run, the commands that machine understand. Machine don't understand the C++ Java code. Only we can understand this code. Machine. This thing has to be explained in the first year, yeah? I mean, when you do algorithms, what is machine code? You don't know what's machine code? The code that machine understand and can execute. This is called machine code. Machine don't understand the syntax of PHP, C++, Java, nothing. You have to first convert to some binary code, which is called machine code. This is like binary, but there is not only the binary, but this is something that we cannot understand. Machine can understand. This is machine code. Always we have to convert to machine first, then we can run it on some computer.
but is we have like IT programmers who works with machine code. There exists like
These are the guys who do the languages. I mean, who do C++ language, they do the compiler. Yeah? When you change something in C++, they can change something in compiler so it understands the C++ code, for example. Not we guys. If we do this compiler, so you have to be very smart. I mean, this is not only one guy who does this. This is some association should be. Yeah? For example, Java is done by the whole world. Yeah? You can also write some code. Say that can you place my code into the next version of Java, for example. If it's okay, they can include it.
То есть интерпретатор обнаруживает ошибки, чем
Интерпретатор берет блок с блоком, и когда вы здесь что-то исправляете, на следующем реквесте он уже берет исправленный код. То есть вам не нужно опять все останавливать, говорить там, стоп, все реквесты пошлите, короче, в одно место, остановите. Все такие ждут, да, там весь мир стоит, ждет, Facebook не работает. Так я сейчас откомпилирую, нет. Вы исправили, он дальше работает. Но он медленнее, чем compile languages. Yeah. What for? Kidding. Is it clear, guys? This is the main thing that you have to understand, then it will be easier to work. If you understand this main thing. Okay? What? We have some requests and stuff. На голом PHP, да. Yes. Because framework is also PHP.
А мы будем его писать как
Вот так, вот так.
внутри фронтенда.
Можно вот так. А?
Внутри фронтенда, да?
No, I will explain, not frontend. Frontend is somewhere there.
Это один фронтенд и один бэкенд. PHP. Они будут связаны.
We'll be using the old style, guys. For this semester, we'll be using old style structure when the web server, as an answer, gives you HTML. But when we will cover Laravel, there we'll have a backend, frontend, for example, React, because you will cover the React in the second semester. And what will be done? One request comes to server where the backend side, where the Laravel or Django, for example, yeah, is installed. Yeah, for example, request comes here. Laravel takes this request. If he needs something from the frontend, he will do request to frontend server. This is not the topic of today's lesson because you have to study React. So from the backend, you will do some request to backend to frontend server. Take some JavaScript HTML code and give an answer. Okay? We have to start from this thing, okay? From these simple things. Just we will give answers, responses with HTML. HTML response, okay? Take this. HTML, head, body, take it. Okay? The browser takes it, okay. Sure. Is it clear?
So what if you do this where we wrote this code with PHP, so it will be a wall detail, right?
What?
Когда душсайт болса, sonra ана дұрыс қалады или қала береді.
Жасаңыз уже когда реквест келгенде уже аны алмай қалады да и сәйкес
Sonra ана дұрыс
мына өшіп қалмайды, мынау вообще болмайды, мынау просто временно. He takes it, do some temporary Machine code executes and this is disappeared out. He does it in memory. He takes it, converts in memory, executes it, and removes.
On the previous semester, we had a web project done, and
With HTML, yeah?
yes, we used HTML, CSS, and PHP for the register pages. So
In PHP, what you did in PHP?
Hmm?
In PHP, what you did? What topics in PHP you covered?
We didn't cover like step by step, or we just
Yeah, just
the
what
basics
topics?
needed.
Just basics.
What you needed, so what you did in PHP side?
So we had some functions, they equal something, just that shows, for example, that you
Get requests. Did you do get requests?
yes,
Ah, that's okay, so we'll also cover.
Also, we have file txt where we save the data.
Instead of database.
Yes.
Okay, but you will be using that.
And my question was, like, we connected those pages using links, and we didn't use web servers. How will we?
You did use web server like XMPP? Without XMPP you cannot do this. Thank you. Without XMPP you cannot do this. Let me explain what is XMPP. Just you asking us. Ask like last question, then I have to continue. Ask last question. Last question you have? In the recording you hear. Yeah?
So we use
Yeah, I will explain what we will use now.
so why do we have to
Use example, yeah? Why would I? Okay, let me explain. Good question. I prepared for this question. Emmanuel, I knew that you will ask. I'm kidding. Guys, so as you understood, PHP is not just a language that you can install and run on your local machine, yeah? So you need some web server, you need at least 2 computers to work with PHP. You have a client computer and you need server computer. In server computer you need to install web server, PHP interpreter, yeah? But you all don't have 2 computers. You don't have 2 computers. So we'll be using 1 computer and install our web server in our local computer, in our 1 computer, okay? And this is done by XMPP program file, application. There is another application we can use, WAMP, OpenServer, etc. But XMPP is simple to use. It can be installed to macOS, to Linux, to Windows, any. Okay, XMPP is very simple because of that. Guys, when they are studying, they use XMPP. Instead of XMPP, guys, we could install just separately interpreter, Mysql, web server, but we have to connect them with the configurations. We have to do so many configurations, and it's very hard for the newcomers, yeah, for the new guys who are studying. So what is XMPP? XMPP, guys, XMPP is just an application which stores inside Mysql, PHP interpreter, web server. It's called Apache web server, and these 3 things are connected to each other, configured with each other. So when some requests come to Apache server, it knows where is the PHP interpreter to pass the request to PHP interpreter. With the with your PHP code, you can easily connect to Mysql. Everything is configured in XMPP, so you don't have to waste your time to configure everything. XMPP is ready, okay? And you can install XMPP to another computer, to second computer, like it's a web server, yeah? But if you don't have second computer, you can install it here on your own computer. So your machine, your 1 computer will work as a client and as a server in one time. Like client and server will be in one machine, in one computer. You will do requests from your laptop and it will not go to somewhere. The request will come and go to your Apache server. When Apache server does some response, this response go to your browser. But you think that it's some server somewhere, but it's in your local machine, but you can think that it's server somewhere in another laptop. Okay? Like, is it clear, guys? Your Apache will be here, but you can think that it's installed in another computer. That's why XMPP is called local server. Like it's simulating server, but it's installed locally, but it's simulating server, okay? So you do request from your browser, comes to your Apache, some answer from your Apache, some response, goes from out of your Apache server, and goes to your browser, but everything is done with one computer. Okay? Okay, okay? Is it clear, guys? Because some guys are confused. They say, we need to do some web server, why everything is here in one laptop? If you have two computers, please, you can install the XMPP in the second computer. But if you have only one computer, you can do everything here. Just to test it, guys. After you finish your application, your PHP code, everything is done, yeah? You can do what? You can take this PHP code and upload to some hosting. Take some place from HosterKZ, from PSKZ, we have a hosting services, yeah? HosterKZ, PSKZ, they're very popular. You can take some place, put your data to there. I mean, that from database, take some data, put there. Take your PHP codes, put there. That's after you can just remove your XMPP. XMPP was just to develop this, to test it from in local machine. Okay, you can put everything to your hoster. Then everyone can access. Yeah, if you put to host. I can also show you how to put in hoster at the end of the semester if you want. We can buy together some hosting, buy some domain, something like www.emmanuel.kz and put everything in there, okay? And just try to test it if you want. Is it clear? Is it clear? So this is just simulation, guys. XMPP is simulation of web server, but it's itself just locally. Okay? Okay? I'll give you links to XMPP. Yeah, you can just type XMPP. It's very easy, like this thing. You can type XMPP and download it and try to install till the next lesson. Okay? So on Friday, next week Friday, you should have XMPP installed on your local machines, on your computers. Okay? But in these laptops, guys, XMPP is already installed in these laptops. I mean, classroom laptops. Okay? You can just see. If you do something like XMPP, this is XMPP control panel you'll have. You can open it. And here you can see, guys, you cannot read, but I will read for you. Apache. This is the web server that we need. If you don't start it, this is the start button. If you start it, this web server is started. Okay? Then we don't have this PHP interpreter here because PHP interpreter is working automatically. You don't have to start or stop PHP interpreter. It will work automatically. But you can start web server or stop. Also here we have Mysql. But Mysql we'll use in the second half, okay? Not today. In the week 9 and 10, okay? So we need just to install XMPP and run Apache, then we can work. Okay? Today I'm not going to show you where to put the PHP files inside the XMPP, how we put it now, because you didn't install XMPP. Next lesson I will show you. Today let's talk about PHP syntax. Let's start the PHP syntax, okay? Do we have time? No? So many theory, guys. Let's start now or after break? I think so many information, yeah, for one lesson. But the break is after 15 minutes. So we can talk, guys. Any questions? Or you want to go to break earlier? Because of that? Maybe we'll go earlier to the break. After 20 minutes, I have to see you here. Oh, yeah, guys? Okay. After 20 minutes. 20, 20. 20.